Hey, this is Anthony Cesare with SuccessForYourSongs.com, and in this video we're going to be talking about how Gotye wrote lyrics to make them more interesting as his song moved along. Because a lot of times songwriters come up with a great idea for a story to use in their lyrics, but then they use up the majority of their ideas in the first verse and simply just end up repeating similar information in the second verse. And while there's technically nothing wrong with that, it usually doesn't make for an interesting story and can force your listeners to lose interest in what you're singing about by the time your song's over. So if you're stuck with coming up with new ideas for your second verse to move your story along, one little trick that you can use is to assume that what you wrote is your second verse, and then you just have to come up with a first verse, which can be easier because then you just have to think of some ideas that lead up to what your second verse is. And one song that I think that does a good job of advancing its story as the song moves forward is Somebody That I Used to Know by Gotye featuring Kimbra. So let's start out by reading through some of the lyrics here. So the first two verses and the chorus are sung by Gotye. So they go like this. Now and then I think of when we were together, like when you said you felt so happy you can die. Told myself that you were right for me, but felt so lonely in your company. But that was love, and it's an ache I still remember. You can get addicted to a certain kind of sadness, like resignation to the end, always the end. So when we found that we could not make sense, well, you said that we would still be friends, but I'll admit that I was glad that it was over. That was the verse, and then it goes into the chorus. But you didn't have to cut me off, made out like it never happened and that we were nothing. And I don't ever need your love, but you treat me like a stranger and that feels so rough. Now you didn't have to stoop so low, have your friends collect your records and then change your number. I guess that I didn't need that though. Now you're just somebody that I used to know. Now you're just somebody that I used to know. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what that means. So from Gotye's perspective, we learned that he was never really happy about his relationship in the verses. And then in the chorus, we find out that the relationship was severed completely and she wasn't talking to him at all. And that idea is summed up nicely with the hook line, now you're somebody that I used to know. So let's keep going with the lyrics because this is where perspective changes a bit here. So the next verse is sung by Kimbra. And she says, now and then I think of all the times you screwed me over, but had me believing it was always something that I'd done. But I don't want to live that way, reading into every word you say. You said that you could let it go, and I wouldn't catch you hung up on somebody that you used to know. So now we get into the female perspective on the relationship, and seeing her side of things in this new perspective keeps things interesting, but what really makes it work is how it ends on that line, and I wouldn't catch you hung up on somebody that you used to know. So now she's filling us in to the fact that the reason the relationship wasn't working the whole time was because he was hung up on his last girlfriend. And what worked so well about it was that after establishing that somebody that I used to know means an ex-girlfriend in the first verse, then that same line was used in a different way in the second verse. So it's giving us a whole new meaning by letting us know that he was hung up on his past girlfriend. And in this verse, it meant his past girlfriend, while the first time we heard it, it referred to Kimbra. But it did that by using the same words and the hook that we already heard, and that's what makes it clever. So plus it works as a duet since the female voice is giving us a new perspective while advancing the story with the same hook. It gives a purpose to the song being a duet as opposed to two people singing for no apparent reason. So armed with that new information, when we hit that final chorus, we get a different flavor. Gotye sings that last chorus again, and knowing that he was hung up on an ex-girlfriend the whole time makes it feel a little more desperate and pleading than it did the first time around. So they're the same words, but they mean something slightly different now. So, you could see how some clever advancements in your story can make a lyric interesting. Had verse 2 just been more information from Gotye letting us know how he was never that into the relationship, then the song would lose some steam once it hit the second verse. But bringing in Kimbra and having her move that story forward keeps us interested. So you can use moves like this in your writing too. It's a great way to keep your audience engaged and to keep your story flowing from verse to verse. Okay, so hopefully that information helped you out. If you're looking for a lot more ways to improve your lyric writing, I've got a couple of free cheat sheets that you can download by tapping on the screen here. And if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, you can tap our logo on the screen for that. And I'll also have links for that stuff below this video. So thank you for checking this one out, and I'll talk to you in the next one.